already today. I do want to say, when we had originally discussed and envisioned this panel, the third panelist was to be Lisa Howie from the National Art Gallery of Bermuda, or the Bermuda National Gallery, and unfortunately Lisa couldn't join us, although we would love to have her. So I've sort of jumped in to tell you the story about the National Gallery and what we're doing with audience development, and Shireen has kindly agreed to take my position as chair. So, bit of a change around, but next time we hope to have Lisa with us as well, because they're doing very exciting things in Bermuda. The National Gallery, as you already heard, really started out in a very different way than a traditional art museum might. We were only established in 1997, so we're one of the youngest cultural organisations in the Cayman Islands. We're doing a pretty good job of playing catch-up, I'd say, but we started out without a building. We were in a very tiny rented space with about 800 square feet, maybe a little bit more. And that moved to a bigger facility with about 2,200 square feet. But we were primarily an education organisation. We went out into the community, we taught in schools. At the time there was not a lot of consistent arts education in the school system, and that is improving, I'm pleased to say. And also looking at a very, very varied number of workshops and classes, again, as Mr. Taggart said earlier on, for every age group. There was a real lack of opportunities for people to have creative expression and creative moments in Cayman. So we have a former director of the National Gallery, Nancy Barnard, here, and one of her great passions was to expand this education program. So for a very long time, that took the place of any thoughts to do with collections. We had a temporary exhibition schedule, but the education, as you'll see, it's one of my favourite photos in the whole of the National Gallery. Today we're looking at over 50 classes, workshops and lectures per month, and that is in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, and then we do special projects in Little Cayman as well. The Walkers Art Club is an after-schools club, and it's the, I would say, most prominent after-school club in the Caymans for young visual artists. There's 7 weekly. They start with preschoolers, primary Cayman Brac, secondary teens, and teens Brac. So that is a year-long taught program weekly that takes young artists or young people with a passion about art that they're not getting the support from the school sector into a journey that really is an academic but also very hands-on program that allows for interaction with the collection, exhibition, museum staff, and of course performing artists and artists in Cayman. The mural program, it's been a while since we did one of these, but we had several really key mural programs, again, trying to engage in the community. And I'm putting these up now because this is kind of who we were before we came to the site, and it's really informed our identity as we move forward with our programming. Seniors programs, so they started many years ago and again continue to be bi-monthly with the support of EY. So these didn't show up in my slides, so excuse my bad pictures, we're not going to have any images there, but we've worked, and again this was established by Nancy Barnard, with Northwood and Fairbanks prisons. This is a major program that the National Gallery has been doing for about 12 years now on a weekly basis, and with the junior prison as well, Eagle House. I think this quote speaks volumes. It is hard to continue finding funding to run all of these programs, and again, that's something that we'll address as I go on. And Lighthouse and Sunrise Club. So Lighthouse School is school for young people with disabilities in Cayman, and Sunrise Adult Learning Centre is where they graduate to. This was one of the most moving moments in my career at the National Gallery. Lighthouse kids knew that we had to fundraise to be here. We are funded about 48% by the Cayman's government, and we have about $500,000 to raise just for operations every year. Somehow they got wind of this and they saved up all of their SNAP money for 6 months and brought it in on their last day of term a couple of years ago and gave it to our staff. So this is pure joy, you know, it makes the hard work totally worth it. And of course adult classes, and this is one area that we are trying to generate some revenue through. So all of the classes that you just saw were free through support by local sponsors, but we also do ongoing kind of professional development workshops and things like that for adult learners as well. Creative Careers, again, is another education program which engages young students in the school system from the age of about 15 And then they had various ways of developing through a career with the National Gallery before they potentially even come on board as staff members. And the reason that we do this, and the reason that we have this very varied and wide-reaching education program, is because we are trying to grow professionals in this area. We're trying to ensure that everyone in the Cayman has access to some kind of creative form of expression, but we really need more and more people to come into the sector. It's a brand new sector really in the Cayman Islands to be, from a professional standpoint. It's only been around for 15 to 20 years, and it's only now that people are coming back with master's degrees. I mean, don't even have a PhD in this field yet, so there's a lot to do in this area. This has been a really successful program in the last few years, and we have three staff members right now that have come through, 3 staff members that have come through the system, kind of Caitlin as well, and Kerry, who's sitting next to her, and more coming up the ranks, and educated, bright, passionate young people that will be taking over the leadership of these organisations going forward. So that was who we were before we moved into the new site. We had, as I said, a temporary exhibition schedule with about 4 exhibitions per year. We would travel those to Cayman Brac. We have done pop-up exhibitions in Little Cayman as well. But as Amanda mentioned, it's very tricky to ensure that you have the kind of environmental space to put up a national art collection in the Sister Islands. What we tend to do is temporary exhibitions with practicing artists that have signed off on our ability to kind of move this work around these smaller spaces, but also reproductions, photographic work, and some digital as well. But with the new building, we could become a totally different organisation in many ways, bringing that education mission through to this kind of much larger, more mature, formal art museum. And I know that my colleagues also suffer from the same issue of being a national gallery, and there's a lot of misunderstanding locally still that we're a commercial gallery, we are arts managers for the arts community. We aren't those things. We're there to support the growth of artists and to exhibit their work, to seek funds to bring them into the national collection, but we are primarily an art museum and education space. So the building, when we were sort of sitting, and this was a project that went on for about 10 years, it's primarily privately funded, I think to about 95%, took about 14 years to build. But it also allowed time for the discussions about what we wanted to be and how we wanted to connect to the surrounding community. And we come back to this idea of an essential museum. This was very much part of those discussions and dialogue. Not only did we do a lot of sort of gatherings and discussions about what we wanted to see here, but when we reviewed the site plans, which had originally been done in a competition back in 1998, we started building in 2010. So you can imagine that the sort of museum sector had evolved very rapidly in those 10 years. I mean, really, since I studied and did my first degree, I mean, the museum sector is a completely different animal than it was in those days. Design had also moved on. I mean, the building was going to be yellow with blue tinted glass for a while. We realised that and caught it just before we started building. And so we stripped it down. We didn't have the funding to kind of fit it all out in the areas too, which is why it looks so industrial in the main space, but it did allow for this very neutral showcase for fine art. We also added some more gallery walls. You'll see when you walk in that we've got this sort of temporary walls in the middle of both galleries, and of course that doubled the amount of exhibition space. So we were having conversations like that, how much space do we need, what was our program going to look like, and it was a great opportunity, this is going back 4 years, to really sit down and review our history so far. So see, these are some of the things that we were thinking about. We were also very conscious that we needed to look at ways to generate our own revenue, to become more self-sufficient and less reliant on fundraising. We have instigated several of those initiatives, and I'll talk to those, but of course fundraising is still a major part of what we do. And it is an exhausting commitment to do every year for the whole team. But the site was here, and it had endless possibilities. We wanted to ensure that when we were looking at maybe non-traditional gallery initiatives like opening a cafe or looking at a gift shop, that we wanted to see as a bespoke destination store rather than just kind of an adjacent add-on for some of the literature that we were producing in-house. But also as an event rental facility. And it is very difficult when you're a small team to kind of balance that custodianship, that focus on education and developing collections, while also looking at business opportunities. But we didn't really have a choice. With that funding gap, we really do need to look at ways to diversify revenue. And it's actually been really good for us, because one of the things we realized very quickly, because we suffered from the same type of challenge of being a kind of white cube, slightly intimidating space for a community that, you know, visual arts, as I mentioned earlier on, has only been around since the sort of 70s, really. That's only sort of 50, 60 years of a culture, a cultural product, really. So people were like, you know, fine art galleries, that's not really my thing. And it's still something that we come across every day and are really making great inroads to changing. And that's through some of these initiatives. You know, if you're bringing in a corporate sector, or you're bringing in a charitable event to the organisation, you're really helping to kind of bring people to the site that would never come on their own. And that was a major part of how we actually developed the physical space. This is a quote from our vision statement: an inclusive gathering place. What we wanted to ensure, inclusive gathering space, was this sense of community ownership. Again, it wasn't us sitting on a hill, or for want of a better word, with no gates, and you know, but you have to think about the visual, built sense of who you are, as much as your message and as much as your media program, as much as engaging with schools. Very contemporary. It does have this kind of iconic little nod to the Louvre. It was much bigger than that to start off with, but unfortunately we were able to limit the glass. And just having accessible parking, as Amanda said, you know, how do you get people to come? When we were downtown, you'd assume that being in the middle of Georgetown, we would have regular traffic, lots of visitors, because we were right by the cruise ship dock. But actually people would come in and say, where's your restroom? And then they'd leave again. The local community didn't want to come downtown because parking was awful, and we get up to 10,000 cruise ship visitors some days. So, you know, it's a no-go zone for the local community, which made it very difficult. Now we're right in the heart of 7 Mile Beach, and we have 52 parking spaces. It really has helped with that movement. We're lobbying for bus lanes outside as well, which is going to be really key to opening it up. So the space itself, as I mentioned, now has additional exhibition walls. Sounds pretty basic, but if you'd walked into the original plan, we had a double sort of height building with no second floor, and 3 doors, yeah, 3 double doors with very, very little wall space left. Just, again, through community dialogue, engaging with artists, you know, what did artists want to see here? What did educators want to see here? And different community members that we were hoping that were going to use the space. So I'm going to break down each of these areas that have been part of this process and this dialogue, and how we've taken the traditional collection space, or the traditional education space, and certainly the outside sculpture garden, and really used it to engage audiences and grow those numbers and interact. The amazing thing, certainly for me, and I think for a lot of the community, was this is the very first time Cayman's National Art Collection had ever had a home, or a permanent exhibition space. The museum have an amazing art collection, and they use that to illustrate a lot of their social and cultural history programs. They have a temporary exhibition space, but there was no one room in Cayman that you could just put part of the National Art Collection up. And when I say the National Art Collection, it is housed and owned by the National Museum, the Gallery, and the Culture Foundation. But somewhere that we could tell our story, both to visitors, to school children, and to the general community. So it was a major step forward in that respect. With that, we've been able to open up how we educate, or how we invite people to learn with us. The schools program in Cayman, as it probably is with many of your countries, is quite traditional. It's incredibly examination heavy. There's very little time to kind of do exploratory, sort of creative, inspiring, pop-up type workshops and work within that program. So we were struggling for a while to say, you know, why aren't you guys coming to see our artwork? You know, you just assume that it's up, it's amazing. This is before we moved, so this is a conversation that started in the old site. But we realized very quickly, having spoken to the teachers, that they just didn't have time to fit it in. It was a great opportunity. We could cover their transportation, we could give a free educational tour, but we couldn't find time in their program. So instead, we embarked, after moving to the site in 2013, to reframe all of our collection space learning into cross-curricular learning opportunities. So we work with the Ministry of Education to ensure that this really was quality curriculum-based learning for the school system, and that it would contribute directly to their end-of-year benchmarks. So we can teach mathematics now, we can teach history, we can teach the traditional social studies type programming, which is maybe more conducive to the art collection, but we use the artwork to illustrate those stories. And suddenly teachers are engaged, and they, that synergy has happened through those conversations with the education system. And it has really, I think, we've increased our school tours by about 120% in the last couple of years. And these are some of them here. So that's the Dark Minds Inspired Active Learning Sessions, which is quite a lengthy name. We also have Take a Look tours, which are the more traditional gallery tours that schools can say, we're studying maritime history, we'd really like to come down and look at some paintings of catboats and schooners. Online resources, and Caitlin's going to speak to this more in her digital session tomorrow. We've just launched a new website, and we'll get down to that in a minute, but with a lot of this resource material online, and of course artist profiles as well. We have a really vibrant temporary education exhibition schedule, and very rapidly again, you have, as a small museum, maybe only the resources to do 4 or 5 major exhibitions in the space that we were last night with the Speak to Me exhibition. It's a great example of one of those. But we then looked at this room. We wanted to be sure that when we came onto the site and started using it, every space could double up as something else. The collection space is really the only area that stays under much more sort of rigid control. We don't really host big events upstairs, but downstairs does have that kind of functional movement to host all sorts of sizes of events. So this room very quickly this was originally supposed to have set seating. It was going to be a slightly more mature looking lecture theatre, but we realised we probably only do 1 or 2 lectures a week. And we wanted to be able to pull out the space to rent it out for corporate team building, to host AGMs, to host ladies' lunch mornings, anything that was going to raise us some money, basically. And it's been a fantastic space for that. But we very quickly ran out of exhibition space. So this now functions as a 3rd exhibition space. It's actually called the National Gallery Community Gallery. And we do up to about 8 pop-up exhibitions in here a year. The idea behind those are that they are supposed to be self-curated by the artists that we invite to be part of the space. But again, if they're younger artists or emerging artists or schools, we can help provide support and actually use that as a learning opportunity for those places as well. This is the Turnoring piece, again, by Ray Banker, that has just joined us today. So Ray's in the room. Randy Shalette is also here today, another one of our prominent artists. A piece by Davin Ebanks, who is the head of glass at Kent State, who's a wonderful Canadian glass sculptor and artist, and Gordon Solomon is in the bottom here. Of course, exhibition-related programming is much more traditionally based. We do have the school tours, exhibition workshops, screenings, and we've looked at this mammoth education department that we have, and in the last year I've started streamlining this all under the umbrella of the exhibitions program. So it's much more in sync with the major exhibition spaces, using that to actually channel all of the education through. This is the auditorium under a different framework, and this is by a big installation that was here about 3 years ago by an artist called Dreddy, or Shana Carr. He actually was with us last night for dinner. I think some of you had a chance to sit down and speak to him. And again, just some images of how people are now using the site. This has been a really important part of the gallery for a long time, but again, when we moved to the new facility, we realised we were able to offer a lot of other community partners an opportunity to either display their stories, to help us display our stories and inform our curatorial process, or even just to have a fundraising event here. It's a great venue for parties and book launches and all sorts of things. So this is a project that we did. It was actually an exhibition project in 2012 called Founded Upon the Seas. It was supposed to be a celebration of our maritime heritage, and we invited the Cayman Catboat Club, the National Museum, the Seafarers Association, which has some of the most passionate, dynamic gentlemen in the Cayman Islands. I got to have some wonderful discussions with them about early seafaring, and of course the Cayman Islands National Archive, who work regularly with the National Gallery in our exhibitions. And really open up that dialogue. So if you can imagine, we took our traditional audiences, added all of their audiences, and suddenly, tripled visitor numbers for that exhibition. And of course, those persons are people that we work very hard to have as repeat visitors as well. And that really has been very key to kind of helping us grow our audiences from about 11,000 in the last year of the old facility to 20,000 in the first year of the new facility. We're now averaging about 18 to 19. Gift shop, very quickly, of course, instead of just seeing this as this add-on, we now curate the gift shop through the exhibitions that we do. We're working on a very big collections project for collections-based merchandising, which we feel will help share the story of the Cayman Islands National Collection abroad. Locally, we want to have a mug in everyone's house that says, come to the National Gallery and see this art, it belongs to you. We do pop-up fairs as well, and then one of the great things about the gift shop, we saw again, we'll see tonight in the museum, we saw at the Cayman Turtle Centre yesterday, is that these are fantastic places to promote local artisan goods, whether it's pepper jelly or silver dash. And the gallery tries to do that with exclusive lines in sort of new, revised ways. Event rental, one of our fundraising events. Website, Caitlin will speak to tomorrow. And the website, I will say, has just the most amazing opportunity for us to just grow our reach, to share our story to a very wide traffic. And then quickly, I'm just going to finish in a minute on this new project, because this is really what I want to talk about. This is where we're going towards. Now that we've worked very hard to bring visitors to the site, we're ready to get back out there into the community. I think this will be very much part of our panel discussions, as Amanda's already touched on, and I know Bella and I have spoken previously about this, but we can't just sit inside our museums and expect people to come to us. We need to take the story out, literally into the streets. And this All Access project started last year, and we bought the entire collection, because we only have about 225 pieces. We're still small, we're still growing, although we've increased that by, I think, 1/3 in the last 2 years. So we are seeing a lot of energy around that area. We put the entire collection up so it would look like visual storage. We wanted people to come in and kind of learn about how to conserve artwork, how to care for it, how to document it. And we were able to talk to the public about their concerns that they had about various pieces of work that they had in their collections. We're now going to go out on the road with reproductions of the National Collection, again to take the story to the people and hopefully have people come back that haven't been here yet. That will take place in a couple of different profiles. One is that we're about to go out with our maritime story and a couple of reproductions of paintings from maritime heritage. Into every school on the island to do a pop-up activity with hopefully the Catboat Club and the Seafarers Association. We are then going to completely copy the National Gallery of the UK, who, this is what we're hoping to see, this was a project that we did historically, and reproduce large format paintings of the National Collection in every district in the Cayman Islands. And this will be kicking off next spring in 2017. This is a wonderful project called the Grand Tour that the National Gallery did a few years ago, and just kind of randomly put up these reproductions in back alleys and gardens and garages across London. And of course, this big project will wrap up with various community festivals in the districts. So those are just some of the ways that we're working right now, and I'm looking forward to dialoguing some of that as we sit for the panel. We are going to just change the framework a little bit, so if you could just give us a moment to move our seats in front of this area so that we can capture it on film.